All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining Cosmic Compass Conversations. Um, it is June 3rd, 2024. I'm trying to get used to the idea that it's June. This is a new concept for me. The time is moving quickly, and it does appear that it will continue to do so. I don't see any reason why it will slow down, although Saturn is going to start retrograding toward the end of the month. That may, in fact, create an opportunity for us to slow down and integrate. So that makes me very happy as a possibility. All right. So as we begin today, we're going to begin with our breathing, right? Always our breathing. And I'm excited to see all of you. Yay, good. And so we'll start with our breathing. And again, join in as much as you can. Yeah, however it works well for you. And again, if you're somewhere where you cannot close your eyes, don't close your eyes, please. Just keep them open or just bring your gaze, maybe just lower your gaze, bring your awareness inward. So we'll start with the breath. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to put both feet on the ground. And I'm just going to take a moment to wiggle my body, move my shoulders, kind of roll them around. And then I'm just going to take a breath and expand my belly. And I invite you to do the same. Breathing in, and on the exhale, an audible. So we'll do that together. Breathing in, expanding the belly. And exhaling. Breathing in, expanding the belly. Exhaling. Breathing in, expanding the belly. Exhaling. And this time, really feel the earth beneath your feet, feeling that energy of groundedness, of support. If you feel like dropping a root all the way down to the core of the earth, you can. And then just breathing in that support up through the soles of the feet, expanding the belly. And then exhaling. Beautiful. When you're ready, come back. Sometimes I'm not ready to come back, but that's what we're doing. Like I could spend a whole hour with you just breathing. That would probably be good for all of us. But what we're going to do today is we're going to pull some cards and then we're going to talk to our guest. I'm very excited. Okay. First card for the week. Jupiter in Gemini, new moon in Gemini, Venus in Gemini, Mercury in Gemini. Busy week. Lots of good energy, right? Staying grounded feels important. Oh, I like this card for this week. Seven of Pentacles. So we begin there. So again, just what do you notice? What do you feel? What do you see? How does this relate for you? What insights are coming through? And every time I see cards, they look a little different to me. So there might be something new that's showing up there for you. Just take your time. Beautiful. All right. And now, next card for the week. This one keeps showing up a lot. Must be a reminder that we're all, maybe, I don't want to put too many words to it, but just feel into that and see if you can relate to anything in that card. It looks like a simple card, but there is a lot going on there. And just notice what you notice. Feel into it for you and your path. Details, some details are going to matter more than others. So if you see something you want to focus in on, do that. That's the beauty of Chris Ann's art. She just did a marvelous job. There's a richness where she really captures, I think, the essence of the card, but then, you know, she has depth and you can see it in the art. Okay, our third card. This comes up a lot as well. So I guess the energy is clear, right? And this is going to be swords. If it can, let me see if I can get it to come into focus. There we go. Queen of Swords. Swords are the air, the mental. They fit very nicely with Gemini. And what do you notice here? What do you feel? What do you sense? And those will be our guides. So I'm not sure if this shows up in the right order on your side because I'm not sure, but those are our cards for this week. Okay. So again, I like to just let you be with them. You can use your journal and just check in. Yeah, I like some of the energy here. And of course, when I introduce my guest, she can comment on them if she wants to, of course. Anybody, you know, can put anything in the chat too. But I just thought keeping it in our sacred space here, just letting you tune in for what is right for you right now. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm not going to say too much about the astrology today. I will just remind each of us of a great exercise that the Cosmic Circle, that's the membership group, will be doing more of throughout the next year. But all of us can benefit right now by considering what you were doing 12 years ago. What were the blessings that you received 12 years ago? Even if it's in hindsight, okay? Super important. Just, it may not have been evident at the time, but what were the blessings you received 12 years ago? And then if that's not enough, go back to the year 2000, go back 24 years and ask yourself the same questions. What was different? What had changed? What was happening? What happened during that mid-year to mid-year cycle, 2000 to 2001? How did your life shift? 25. So the year 2000 is kind of easy to remember. There's lots of points around that, I think, at least for me. I can remember the year 2000. Ask me any further than that, I would have to dig. So if you said, oh, so hey, what happened in 1988? I could tell you I was in school, which is a great Jupiter and Gemini thing to be doing. So I could tell you that was when I was getting graduate education, I think, maybe. Or maybe I'd started teaching. Either way, good Jupiter and Gemini. But yeah, too much further back, it's really hard. So 12 years is good, 24 years if you can do it. But kind of look at what the shifts and patterns, you might be surprised. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and it's really fun to hear the stories because often people will say things like, oh, I made a huge life decision that year. Well, what led to that? What were you doing prior to that? How did you reach that place? How were you, setting yourself in direction? For me, I think 2012 was a huge year. 2013, another huge year. So again, what was I doing in that time frame to get myself ready for really what turned out to be a cycle? And here we are again, starting a new cycle. So what am I doing this year that will, and you may not know, that's the beauty of this. You may not know. You just know that this is a great year to learn, to grow, to teach, to train, to share, to write. I'm just saying. That's all I have to say. Writing's good, publishing's great if you want to go there. The writing process takes time, but this is a great year to get that going. I wish I could say that, uh, I I did that myself, but yeah, maybe this year will happen. I remember thinking this the last 12 years ago. I had already started my novel and I thought, oh yeah, Jupiter and Gemini, I'll finish it. I did not finish it. I started a whole new life. So that took me in a bunch of other directions. So just things for you to consider, things for you to be with. Okay, without further delay, I'm going to invite our wonderful guest, Christine Dickson, to join us. And Christine, I'm going to spotlight you. So be ready. Here you go. You're spotlighted. Now, why cannot we hear you?
You can't hear me?
Oh, there we go. Okay, now, yes. But let me turn up my volume. Maybe that's a problem. There we go. All right. Try speaking again. Let me just make sure I can hear you.
You hear me?
Yes. All right. Everyone, this is Christine Dickson. Some of you know her already, some of you do not. Christine, I would like to just share a little bit about how we met, and then I'd like you to just share anything. Christine has like super awesome stories, but I want you to just share anything about yourself that you feel is relevant for today. Like you can, so while I'm sharing how I met you, you can think about like what would I want to share about myself today? So for those of you who don't know, Christine was a presenter. Well, actually, she's been a presenter a couple of times, but an official presenter last year in San Antonio's Journey on Summit. And so we met via Zoom first, and I obviously met her. This is the thing about the podcast. You do feel like you're meeting the person, even if they're not meeting you. You feel like you're meeting them because those questions are pretty good and we share a lot. So I met Christine through the podcast, but then I met her on Zoom and then I met her in person at the summit. And I had already seen her speak at the previous summit the previous year in San Antonio. So I already had a sense of who like this amazing woman was. And I have to say, meeting you in person, Christine, was like, it's like your sunlight. I mean, you have the sun behind you and you are a Leo. So, okay, so this is not a thing. But it's like you are sunlight. You radiate out into a space and fill it with warmth. And I remember I was so freaking nervous in San Antonio. And you just came up to me and gave me a big hug. And it was like meeting a long lost friend. You were just very Leo-like, I have to say, very alive and very full of that energy that is so welcoming. So I want to thank you for that. That was really, really important for me, especially in that moment. So,
I felt the same about you. So
oh, okay. Well,
Mhm.
thank you.
We
Thank you.
ground each other, right?
Well, that's true. Taurus and Leo are in a relationship. We're 90 degrees apart. And so we do have a connection. There is definitely that working together in different ways.
Mhm.
You've got the Leo fire and the Taurus earth. And so there's a groundedness. Well, you have to have the earth and the sun, right?
Mhm.
Both. Otherwise, if we didn't have the sun, we wouldn't really have an earth.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you could think about that. All right. What would you like to share about yourself today?
Well, it's funny that when you were saying some of you may know her, some of you may have met her, and I was going to say, and one of you may have traveled with her.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, that's true because you were here with the Bali retreat in January. Was it January of this year? The Bali
Uh,
retreat?
yes, it was January this year, but I'm talking about somebody that I went to with
Oh.
Becky to Costa Rica for.
Oh, wow, cool. Okay, well, I didn't know that. That's exciting. Can you believe that that retreat in Bali was only 6 months ago?
I can't, but I can't wait to go back. I have to, we're so excited to do it again. Like, oh my gosh, like
Is it, and it's in January next year, right? Same time frame. Is it full yet?
no, not
Okay.
yet.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll just put that out there as another possibility. All right. So can you share a little bit about who you are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I always forget because like you see so many people that you know that you forget like, oh yeah, you got to go back to the beginning.
Sometimes you do. Plus, I'm putting this on YouTube, Christine. So, some of those people won't know you.
Or it's gonna live forever, ever,
It
ever, ever.
is. It's going to live forever on YouTube for as long as YouTube and I have a relationship.
Well, I will start with where I was 12 years ago because I was like, whoa, um, that really was a pivotal point because I was living in Long Beach and my daughter had moved back home and was living at the place with her then boyfriend, my son, my his best friend. My friend used to call me my home that Christine's home for wayward boys because we would take everybody in. So my son, his best friend, my brother, and I were all living in a house in Long Beach, and the owner passed away, and the kids wanted the house to sell.
Mhm.
So we had to find a place to live. So it was that precipitating moment where we all, I wasn't going to be the caretaker for all of these adult children anymore.
Right.
So everybody left, and I got to move to this great little apartment in Studio City. It was like we called it Melrose Place because everybody got to be friends with everybody else in the building. And so much of my launching, or I would say it's putting the pieces back together again
Mhm.
and launching at the same time
Yeah.
because I had been in a pathological relationship for about 7 years, and that was kind of the last big step of moving away from where that person was,
Yes.
um, and starting anew.
Yes.
So, and it was all uphill from there. It took a while to build the momentum, but it definitely was all uphill or downhill. What am I talking about? Uh,
Well, I actually,
or
I think it was both. I'm going to just say that I trust anything that comes out because uphill means to me. So do you mind if I share a little bit about what is that you were climbing higher, you were increasing, you were moving up the mountain to get to a peak. And then we go to other peaks, we move up and down throughout life, but it sounds like it really was a little uphill.
Oh, in the beginning, I mean, my car died. I had no car. I ended up buying a neighbor's 1978 diesel Mercedes that we called the Russian mob car.
Oh
And we
God.
would drive around. It drove like a boat where you were like, felt you were
Yeah.
floating down the road.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was working like 3 jobs,
Right.
and it was definitely a difficult time, but I was also really excited about
Mhm.
the future. I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like, but I felt like it was a turning point. I felt like I was free of an old version of myself that I
Right.
finally had
Yes.
a new neural pathway. Everyone can take care of themselves. I see you as confident and able. But that was a really big turning point for me. So
It is interesting to look at that now, right? And to consider what is the turning point. We may not know what it is right now, but we can gather that we're in a turning point. And a lot of it has to do with learning. It has to do with the mind, because Gemini, air sign, mind. And that's actually one of the reasons why Christine is here today, is because she works a lot with the mind and the heart, but really, I mean, we'll talk more about that. So, in that last 12 years, when was the Bali experience? Was it 2015?
it was 2012,
Oh, so Bali
2014.
2014. Okay.
This
So
was
Bali, yeah, so you can see so Bali, again, that first experience changed you forever. So it was part of this new cycle. And now you've begun to offer that experience to others, which is part of what happens in these cycles is we go from our own experiences that we are learning from, that's Gemini, and then we offer them to others. That's very Jupiterian. So,
Which is so perfect. Oh my gosh, this is so perfect. Okay. I have so okay. Um the reason that I am laughing is because you said about a cycle and all of this. And so I'm looking at the trajectory, which was, the first thing I had to do was just believe in myself, which if you asked me if I believed in myself, I would have said I did, but I wasn't acting in the world as if I did.
right.
And it was when the action started, even though I didn't have the full belief, that things started changing. And to your point is that I started over again in the 2012, and then it took a while, and around 2016, 2017, I started seeing clients again through hypnotherapy, and I started building that way, and I was seeing clients by the hour.
Mhm.
And then I got the job at a drug and alcohol treatment facility in Malibu, which I loved that work. I adored that work. I loved my clients. And I got to be on treatment teams with all of the doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists and spiritual advisors and all of this. And we would work on every client individually. And it was a phenomenal experience. But I saw an issue that was an area that was lacking. Like
Mhm.
the next step just kind of laid out in front of me, which was people were having amazing experiences there, and then they were leaving.
Yeah,
Weeks, months, or even a year, they were unraveling again and coming back.
right.
It's like the thing that they need is cohesion. Because if you go from like the pink bubble, the pink cloud, and then back into the same environment that you came from,
Right.
you're probably going to struggle. So
Mhm.
having someone that can take you through the whole thing and be your advocate and be your cheerleader and be the person that helps you stay accountable, um, it just changed everything for a lot of the people that I worked with, and I loved the work. So now I'm not working by the hour anymore, right? Now I'm working through contracts because it's really important in coaching that that people commit to enough time for it to
Mhm.
actually
Right.
make changes in their life. And it needs to be like monthly. So
Right.
that you're already in for the month, right? There's
Got it.
no, maybe I won't have a session and save money or save time or whatever it is. It's
Mhm.
like you're in, you're committed, you have
Mhm.
doing it.
Yes.
And what's funny about that is that anybody in the coaching world will tell you you can never work by the hour again, because if you do, then people start to equate the value with hours. Like
Mhm.
it's like we're not here to get hours. Like if somebody said, I'll give you 50 hours a month, right? For half the price of somebody else that's going to give you
Mhm.
12 hours,
Right.
right? Well, am I going to actually get results from the 50
Right.
hours?
Yeah, the hours. Yeah. Yeah. What is the goal here? Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Who knows how much time, but like that's how our brains work. It's how my brain works. If somebody says something, I'll be like, I'll be doing the math, right?
Right. Right.
So what's for the reason I bring that up, now,
I
right?
do. Yeah.
Is that over the past year, it started in 2023, and then I just got my advanced training this year. I discovered something called IEMT, which is integral eye movement therapy. And though I mean, there's some really amazing, cool modalities out there, people, somatic experiencing and brain spotting, and there's Feldenkrais, there's so many different things, but I've never been motivated to learn those things. Like I'm
Mhm.
happy that there's other people doing them. I loved hypnotherapy. I use it with my coaching clients as well.
Mhm.
But this stuff just blew me away. And it blew me away for a few reasons. but now I'll talk about that. But the thing is that I'm talking about with the cycle is that now I'm never say never, because now I'm back to charging by the hour and working
Right.
with people by the hour, because I don't want this to only be for the people that I do like mentoring and coaching with.
Mhm.
I want this to get out to as many people as possible because of the results I've been seeing.
Yes. Yes. It's amazing. And to your point, I like the never say never part. Um, it is another it's another modality that you can use with your coaching and mentoring clients. But I love the generosity. That's the Jupiter part, the Jupiter and Gemini part is like, oh, but wait, I could offer this hourly. It works well enough. And then people can follow up if they want to, right? I mean, yeah, there's room for that in your practice if people wanted to continue to work with you. But I love it's kind of like when I do my first two initial sessions. I love being able to offer those very, quick sessions, insightful, well, they're not quick, but those first two sessions get that energy moving. And then if people want to work with me, they can. So I get it. Never say never.
Never say never.
Never
And
say never.
that is definitely the full circle
Right.
aspect of it.
Yeah. I love
And
it.
what I've seen is this is why. So I also still work as a sober coach, and I work with people in addiction.
Mhm.
And because people in addiction are just like you and I, right?
Oh,
It's the same
absolutely.
issues. There's nothing different. The only difference is they've chosen a coping strategy that
Yes.
for most of the time it's worked for them. It hasn't
Exactly.
worked well,
Yeah.
but it's worked,
Yeah.
right? And it's about getting different coping mechanisms that actually
Yes.
support you. So, but the thing about um, IEMT is that I have a couple of clients that I've worked with long term. One, this is our fourth year working together. We started working in 2020 when COVID hit,
Mhm.
and you know, she's come a long way. She's still sober. She's doing well, but she plateaued. She stayed in the same environment with a
Mhm.
pathological husband, very controlling, very manipulative,
Mhm.
lies all the time, that kind of thing. They're they're a very affluent family, and she, because of her childhood, being a strong person
Mhm.
make you a target. Like you have to make yourself smaller, and you do these little things that almost take you down,
Mhm.
and then you bring that to the other people, that right, as a way to kind of trade for love or acceptance.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time it doesn't even work. So because people treat you the way you teach them to treat you, so they don't see the value in what you're sacrificing for yourself. In fact, they can actually get disgusted with that aspect of you
Mhm.
because they feel like, I don't know what you want from me for the
Mhm.
fact that you do that or you didn't do that.
Yeah.
And that cycle was constantly taking her down.
Mhm.
And there's a reason I'm telling you this story, because part of this was that he told her that if she tried to leave him, that he would destroy her financially and in every way, because she was an alcoholic.
Mhm.
And because the whole pattern of having to be small and have no power,
Mhm.
this made her feel stuck and have anxiety attacks,
Mm.
and and the soul, the spirit's fighting for freedom, and she's trying to like stuff that down. And this is years. So for years I have been asking her, please contact an attorney. I'm not telling you to get a divorce. What I am telling you to do is get educated.
Yeah.
Just speak to an attorney for your own nervous system, for your own mind, so that you know what the law is, what the procedure is, what you can expect, what's the pros and cons,
Mhm.
and then you are empowered.
Yes.
She wouldn't. She
Mhm.
wouldn't, she wouldn't, she wouldn't. And I would bring it up and then I would leave it and I would bring it up. Well, I started to do IEMT with this client a couple months ago. And it's really funny because I don't know if you guys are familiar with parts work or internal family systems,
Mm-hmm.
but there's this idea that the things we go through as children and growing up,
Yes.
different situations create different managers in
Mm.
our mind.
Yeah.
And the way that this can integrate with IEMT is that imagine those managers decide that a certain memory you have that was negative or
Mhm.
painful,
Yes.
you need to keep that pain and that feeling because we can't trust you because that sensitive side of yourself or the other side might do something. So you need to feel pain so that you don't do that thing again.
Mm.
Right. So her managers were a little scared of doing IEMT. So she would say, yes, I want to do it. And then all of her behavior would act like she was pushing against it. Like, okay, so let's pick a memory. Oh, I can't remember anything. I really can't remember anything from my child. Like it would just be this stuff. But she still did it. And after 2 sessions, I didn't see her for 2 weeks. And then the whole affect, like, think about this, when people actually are feeling that in their body and feeling more in tune, it shows up in the way they move, in their facial expressions, and in every micro expression. Like there's not this feeling of blocked energy, right? It's feeling very, she was just like open and loose. And so we start talking and she's just talking like so much better
Mhm.
about everything. We're halfway through our session and I say, I'm, trying not to be the nag, but I'm saying, by the way, just wondering if you had done anything yet about talking to, oh yeah, yeah, I did. No, I went and I talked to an attorney. Yeah, he can't do, like, she told me that everybody's got stuff in their closet. Like the idea that I was an alcoholic or an alcoholic, but I've been sober for 4 years and he doesn't have a leg to stand on. And I'm like, just like, oh, okay, great. I mean, this was stuck for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I don't think for a minute that she put together that the stuff we worked on in
Yeah.
IEMT was the catalyst to just clear enough of that
Yeah.
weight away
Mhm. Mhm.
that she could access
Yeah.
her own wisdom, her own support, and everything that she had been intellectually learning that had not yet been activated.
Right.
But
Right.
it was so seamless that she went into it. And it was all because the only thing I did different was IEMT, and it was almost immediate.
Yeah. Amazing. So the beauty of that story, and again, thank you for sharing it and in such a way that is, appropriate for the example that we need, is that you can be working on something for a long time. And the spirals, we'll move through it, we'll get deeper, we'll release what we need to release. But to have this particular tool and this modality to support really rapid shifting
Mhm.
is profound, because it's not that we are seeking to bypass. It's not about the bypassing, it's about the unlocking. It's,
Yes.
it's really about the unlocking of something that's deep,
Mhm.
very deep. So I thought I would share a little bit about my session
Sure.
so that I can, so that all of you can hear a little bit more about, because I've been doing a lot of inner work for a long time. Um, I will just share this. My first experience with therapy did not go well. I was a teenager. Well, it went really well for me, actually. I was a teenager. I was struggling, and my mother felt I should go to a psychologist because clearly there was something wrong with me. So, yeah. And so I went, and I was relieved to have someone to talk to and share that in what was going on. And we walked out and she said to my mom, okay, you need to be here next week. It's your daughter's actually pretty clear about what's going on. I need to spend time with you now. And we never went back. And so that was the end of that until I was probably, I was in college. So I think maybe even my freshman year. And so college campuses, you can often get either free or low cost um, counseling from the graduate students. So that began my journey. So I was probably 17 or 18, and I've never really stopped, whether it's, hypnotherapy or psychotherapy or whatever it is, other healing modalities, the idea that there's a lot to work with,
Yeah.
whether it's this lifetime or another lifetime, because we've had past life therapists on here too. So either way, we've got plenty to work with. And so what I brought to Christine, what I loved is that when we started, you were able to ask just some simple questions and then just keep going a little deeper and a little deeper to kind of find the nugget. Like, when did this start? When did this start? So my first, I won't go through all the iterations of that, but there was a couple maybe when I was 8, and then we maybe found one at 4 or 3, and those were all fine. But then I'm like, well, damn it, this all freaking started when I was born. So, so we went all the way to the birth. And there, birth, whether it's a traumatic birth or not traumatic birth, just being born is a thing. So we went back in, and so there were just lots of opportunities along the way for this eye movement to work. And Christine, I will just say, your professionalism and your warmth, there's a nice combination there of holding a very strong space. And we did this over Zoom. So for any of you who are, like, how do you do this? Well, Zoom works eye to eye. It's pretty easy. We're right here. The eyes are here. It was a very powerful experience. And I've had EMDR, which is a different type of eye movement therapy. So I know how the neural pathways and the connection between the movement works, but IEMT is a little different. And I found it to be just enough different that it really is its own modality. Like, I've had them both now, and they are different, very different. So the upshot, and this is really what I want to talk about for me, is that when we did when I had the therapy with Christine, the IEMT, I was really thinking about this anxiety that lives in me all the time, that has always been present, and really maybe since birth, right? I mean, this is kind of the thing. And there were definitely traumatic experiences growing up that added to that. And I thought you all might want to hear this part of the story that I told Christine, is that the first thing that came up that I wanted to clear, because I just wanted to clear it. I almost forgot about it because we cleared it. So I almost forgot the story, but because we already worked with it. But I guess I wasn't sure about the age, maybe 4, 5, 6. I wasn't sure, but young. And I was watching Lassie in black and white on the TV at my grandparents' house in New York. And oh, I probably shouldn't bring this all back to myself, but anyway, it's okay. I can clear it. It's okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, I can look at it now with a smile. So Lassie, of course, got in trouble. Lassie was hurt, and I was very upset, and I was sobbing and crying because, when you're young, you don't know that a TV show always ends on a good note. I mean, this is probably 1960, at the most 1969, so what do I know? All I know is that Lassie's hurt and Lassie's probably going to die. And I am sobbing. And so I throw up all over the living room of my grandparents' house from sobbing. Anyway, that led to a lot of trauma because I got in a lot of trouble and I was punished. And, we won't go into those details, but it led to pretty much a whole bunch of other things. So we went back to that moment, and then we went back to some other moments as well. But what ended up happening ultimately, and this is the beauty, and I know I'm not telling this very concisely, but bear with me because it's just a beautiful experience, is one of the things I did not remember from that experience until Christine did this with me was another part of the memory, which was my grandmother holding me and telling me it was okay. I only had remembered my mother punishing me, but I didn't know there had been this other part. And so I could literally feel the holding and being held. And then as we went a little deeper, the birth trauma was, my mother was unconscious for, I think, 12 hours after I was born. And so there was, a whole bunch of things there. But what I remembered, and I had known this before, but it came back stronger with this experience with Christine, that a nurse was holding me after I was born, and I was being held and just held and rocked by this beautiful woman. It was just amazing. And I don't know who she is or was. She's probably not around anymore, but um, I'm so grateful. So what I was needing was this feeling of being held. Everything's going to ultimately be okay in some existential way. We can't control the things that are happening, but I can still feel held. And just that experience, I mean, just the reminder of that and a deep experience of that, Christine, changed me ultimately in 1 hour. Well, yeah, probably 1 hour. I don't even know. Might have been less, but whatever it was, an hour changed me. So then, this is the part Christine doesn't know. The whole week was designed to bring up the trauma of my inner child. Every single day, there were moments of just, it was relentless. Last week was relentless. And I went through, and I was also having my Mars return, which means Mars was conjunct my Mars. So it was, ooh. So anyway, lots of energy. So but I was able to get through it with this very different experience. And this is what I wanted to share, because Christine doesn't even know this. I would feel the feelings, whatever they were: panic, anxiety, stress, anger, rage, sorrow, grief. I mean, it was all over the map. I mean, all over. But all of a sudden be like, oh, wow, yeah, this is I'm being triggered. I had this experience as a child. Okay, what did I learn? I learned that I'm being held. And I would just literally, I cannot tell you how many times last week I was showing clients, oh, hey, you can just do this. And I wouldn't tell them why. I'm like, you could just do this. This feels really good. You can tap too if you want to tap, but I did this all last week. And it needed to be me. I mean, I have a partner. I can be held physically if I want to be in that way, but to be able to do it for myself is very different. And to physically get it, that this could take me back to that feeling I had during my IEMT session, right? It was profound. So while the week was stressful, and yes, I was up and down, which is fine. I mean, that's emotions. That's what happens. I went through it and I still felt held. I wouldn't say it was the greatest week in the world, but the experience of being able to re-regulate really quickly was profound. That is what one session did for me, which I think is amazing. So that's why, and we had already planned this. We've planned this weeks ago for Christine to come in and talk. So I didn't know what my experience was going to be. So
Yeah.
who knows, but again, it was just, and yes, I don't think the universe said, oh, hey, let's create this so, she can have something to talk about. I think it's just life. I think just it doesn't matter whether you look across the world or you look to your neighbor's house where things are going on to trigger you. Because, Jupiter's in Gemini now, which is a whole other conversation. But that energy of being able to move through stressful events that are triggering trauma, real trauma. I mean, this is a real trauma that's triggered, but to be able to come back and re-regulate my way. Now, everybody's going to have their own different path to this. This is just my experience. But Christine, you've said that other people have said, okay, it's fine to share their stories. There's one story in particular. Did you want to share any other feedback that you've gotten? Because my story is very specific, but do you want to share anything else?
Yeah, what I wanted to say, which because I love that story, and I love the fact that this work shows up differently
Yeah.
for almost everyone. I mean, there's definitely similarities,
Right.
but I want people to look at this as this is self-empowerment work,
Right.
because this is a tool that you get to use
Right.
based on what you want to work on.
Mhm.
And you can dip in and dip out as needed,
Yeah.
right? You don't have to tell me what you want to work on. Like, you don't have to tell me the story. And
Right.
this is something that's so also really self-empowering, because there's sometimes people have stories they've told so many times they just groan and want to, throw themselves against the wall to think that they have to tell this story again. And
Right.
other people have stories that they've never told anyone because they
Mhm.
carry so much shame or
Mhm.
sadness. And this work, all you do is name the memory.
That's right. That's true. That's really important to remember that. I mean, I
You,
was in the memory. So I'm like, but you're right. All we did was name it.
yeah.
Yeah, you probably didn't even know all. Well, maybe I told you later, but
Well, you can, yeah, like, it's not like you can't talk about
yeah.
it,
Yeah.
but you don't have to talk about it. And
Right.
sometimes people like to talk about it afterwards because
Mhm.
how it's shifted.
Yeah.
But, you know, some other stories are, I offered this to all the presenters,
Mhm.
past and present,
Mhm.
to experience this, because so many people work with a lot of other people, and I
Mhm.
want them to know what this is,
Yeah.
that they have it available. And one of the presenters, who is a horse trainer,
Mhm.
who has trained thousands of horses, has traveled the world training horses, and had an issue not too long ago with a horse that was not unlike other times of being, falling off or whatever. I don't remember the actual event, but this event stuck.
Uh,
And her nervous system was now activated. And when
mhm.
she was on a horse, it was only like the horse would just have to do one small move that was out of step, and she would be flooded. And then the shame, the feelings of,
Mm.
being out of control and
Yeah.
not being able to regulate myself,
Right.
and I'm a trainer, and how am I going to do this work if
Yeah.
this is happening?
Yeah.
So we did one session,
Yeah.
and then a few days later, I got an email from her, and she said that, I have to tell you what happened. I was asked to ride this horse that is known to turn and bolt back to the stables, right?
This
And
was after her session or
this is
before?
after her session, a few
Okay.
days after her session.
Of course it was.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
So she said, and she was with other people, and she said that the horse decided he wasn't going further anymore, and she could feel the
Mhm.
energy building in him. And she said there was people behind her,
Mhm.
and she's like, she was playing out, she kind of really fast played out how this could go badly.
Yeah.
And then and this is all in like a split second.
Yeah.
And then she said she felt herself brace for the nervous system fled and the meltdown. And she said it just never came. And she just stayed in
Mm.
her wise mind. And she said, I got off the horse. I walked the horse for a while with the other people. He calmed down. I got back on, and everything was fine. She said, but what was crazy was that I was already conditioned to like go brace my body for that feeling to hit me.
Yeah.
And I think about, this is a really easy, clear way of utilizing this work, right, is something like this, because I know a lot of people that might be listening to this don't have horses, but just to give you an idea of, horses and humans co-regulate. So that means if you're anxious about something happening on the horse and you get on the horse is going, why is she anxious? Now I should be anxious. Is there something that I don't know? Like, so people then try to fake being calm, but that makes them more anxious, and it just becomes this loop. So
Yeah.
being able to have more fluidity and groundedness in your energy, but you don't lose the knowledge. So in other words, if you did something that caused an accident before,
Mhm.
this isn't wiping it from your brain so you're going to make that same mistake again because you
Right.
don't have the
No.
knowledge of the
Right.
mistake to
Right.
choose differently. It
Right.
just takes the charge away.
Yeah. That's extraordinary. And it makes sense because even though I got some flooding of some anxiety from the week experiences, I was very much able to come back really quickly, which to me is extraordinary because the way my body has often processed. I mean, I process through my body. So
Yeah.
it was like, whoa, wait, I can process this through my body, and just be in that. I want to can we just kind of talk about co-regulation for a minute? Because
Yeah.
I think this is a really interesting thing that you've shared about a person and a horse, but also people co-regulate. We hear this phrase codependent, which I understand codependence. There is a actual definition for that. But could you explain co-regulate? Because I think that this happens a lot in
Yeah.
human relationships as much as with the animals.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
I always give this example, like, so imagine you're sitting on the couch at your house, and maybe you're relaxing after dinner, and someone comes running in the room saying they just had a car accident,
Mhm.
right? They're like,
Mhm.
oh my God, someone just hit me. But so immediately you feel your own nervous system go,
Yeah.
right? And it shoots up and it starts trying to match the person in front of you.
Ah, yes.
And so there's two options that can happen here. Either you can also activate
Mhm.
and start feeding it, and the two of you keep upping, upping, upping. Well, what's going to happen to your insurance? And what happened to her? And then we've all seen this, right? And it goes up, up, up. Or you could notice that
Mhm.
your nervous system shot up.
Mhm.
And then you can intentionally stay grounded,
Mhm.
especially through your breath. Keep your breath even, feel into your body, stay grounded. And what effect that will have is that the person who is activated will
Mhm.
be able to regulate their own nervous system because of yours staying grounded. So now instead of feeding that high energy,
Yeah.
they're able to use you to re-regulate. And this is how children learn to regulate their nervous system. And you can see how the recommendations over time have not really benefited us in a lot of ways. Let him cry it out, let him stay in his crib, like, or in her crib, let him, because of the fact that children can't regulate their nervous system.
Yeah.
And it's the close proximity, the touch, the holding, and the parent's nervous system of being calm that allows the child to co-regulate with the parent until the child is able to do that on their own.
Yeah.
So, but we can learn this and do it at any point in time once we
Exactly.
understand it.
Yeah. I mean, that really touches a lot for me, which I won't share too much about my own experience with that, but you are right. You're right in that incredibly beautiful space of just reminding us we can do this at any time. This can happen at any time. You know, we've talked with Kansas at least once on Cosmic Compass. I think maybe just one time with Heart Math, which Heart Math I think is an awesome follow-up, honestly, to IEMT, because Heart Math really teaches again exactly what you're talking about. Like, okay, wait. First, you got to know the okay, wait. First, you got to be able to do the okay, wait part. And
Yes.
then, yeah, first you got to know that part. Like how the okay, wait part is the part that was missing for me, I think, in a lot of ways. Even with all the different therapies I've done, there was just like this, that's what I'm saying. Like this really does work on the brain. So it really does shift something in the brain. And then being able to use something like heart math, which again I think is an extraordinary tool in and of its own. So this is the thing, this is when I started Cosmic Compass Conversations, it was April of 2020, and I wanted to bring on tools. I wanted to bring people who were doing healing work with tools, practitioners, and it's expanded in lots of different ways, but ultimately the stress in our lives collectively has actually, I don't think it's diminished all that much. I think it hit a high note for a while, but it's just continually kind of chronically stressful all the time. And so we need tools more than ever. And for me personally, the IEMT really stands out as a place to get a foothold, I think is what I'd like to say. Like the let me see if I should say that. Well, no, I'm gonna say it. It's like, if you're doing some cliff climbing,
Mhm.
because sometimes it feels like life is a freaking cliff that we have to climb and hang on to, right? You need your footholds. If you don't have a foothold, all the techniques in the world are not probably going to help you quite as much. I mean, they might. But I think when I had that session last week, I got a foothold that I haven't had before. And that's really exciting for me. So that's how I see it.
I would also say, like, how many of us have done all the self-helpery and done, the therapists and the workshops and all of these things, and then you sit there and you go, why do I feel stuck? I can't listen, I can't read one more book. Like, why is this not happening for me? Like,
Mhm.
why do I feel like, and I look, action is the biggest factor, but sometimes kind of like being able to stop and see, oh, I need to take a beat before I do the next thing. Sometimes you need to you need to lift some of that weight. You need to get some clean your windshield, right? To be
Yeah,
able to see where to go.
right.
And I think that that's one of the cool things that this is such a catalyst for that. And it's different for everyone. And watching that, it's been so fun for me. Like, I would rather do this than almost anything. Like, I probably wouldn't even eat, because that's how much fun this is. Even when we're dealing with heavy stuff, right? Like, we
Yeah,
do deal
I
with
get it. I
heavy stuff.
understand. I really do.
And
Yeah.
I love the self-empowerment part, because I love the part, like, over I'm the answer.
Yeah.
It's more like, I'm your tool.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have the wisdom. This
Yeah.
is just a tool for you.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I know a lot of people who are in this community are trauma aware and trauma informed. So, obviously Christine is trauma aware, informed, and educated. So there you're in good hands. I wouldn't suggest this if you weren't in good hands with the overall experience. So Christine, can you put in the chat a link to your website so that people can find you, or a link to whatever page might take them to more information about this particular experience. And what I'd like to do is, while she's doing that, I'm going to use the cards here for a minute and just share a little bit about how, for me, IEMT fits with the cards, because that's kind of fun. So we have, this feels like a very positive card, and I think it is in many, many ways. We have things that are deeply rooted and hopefully are growing well. But sometimes there's a problem in the root system. And sometimes that root system needs to be worked with. And I would like to suggest that this card is saying that even in the most flourishing of root systems, there might be a little root that might need a little extra support. So I'm just going to say that for that card. And this feels very much like actually being in a session, strangely enough. There's I mean, her eyes are open. She's kind of looking down. You would know the quadrant she was looking in. I don't quite know the quadrant thing. You don't have to give away all the magic. But being able to process something in a safe way, because to me, she's on the safe side of the fence, right? And then the torch is lighting the way to what's next, and that there's something coming, some new adventure awaits after she has this experience. And then the last card is, and I think there's another card even after this one, and I might pull it. That'd be fun. This card is like, oh my gosh, I see things so differently now. My brain is taking time to process this, but I feel differently now. So that's kind of how I'm seeing this card. It's like being able to kind of step back a little bit and just say, how am I surveying? She's literally surveying her domain, right? And surveying the domain of the mind and the heart and the experiences. So I'm going to pull one more card. This is an unprecedented event. I'm going to just pull another card for even more information. To support us on this journey of using tools like IEMT to allow us to find the healing that is highest and best for us in this world. Oh, this is funny. This is a great card. Here it is. This is IEMT taking the charge of
Ah,
it. This is very interesting. It's like
that's
taking, I know, right? Taking the charge off the memory, allowing, and so then of course, Page of Cups is it's an emotion-based card. So it's allowing for that emotion to move through more freely. And it also imagine you can take those feelings and begin a new journey with them, which is pretty damn cool, I have to say. So one of the Light Series Tarot, which is what I use here, one of the reasons why I use it, the art is phenomenal, but I love her affirmations. And so here's what the universe has to say about post IEMT sessions. What are the possibilities? Okay, so I'm just going to read her affirmation. I'm not editing. The world is my flourishing oyster, and I am excited to see what happens next. Pretty cool.
that is awesome.
Yeah.
The shell's cracked open.
It is. The shell cracks open and it allows us to see and feel and connect to what's possible. And Jupiter is very much about what's possible. And Jupiter's not the only player right now, but it is such a big change to move from one sign to another for any planet that it is really showing us the way. Like, and to learn something new is very Gemini. To try something new is very Gemini. So, all right, Christine, is there anything else you want to say? Anything you want to share?
There's so many things, but I'll try to keep it to
Okay.
one.
Okay.
This work was developed in England and it's pretty widespread there and is only really getting its footing here in the US.
Mhm.
And I just want to bring it to as many people as possible. I'm actually talking with treatment facilities about being in part of their aftercare with clients and again, I love the self-empowerment part of it. That part is it's just priceless to me because even on my own, like I got here because I started my own journey. I didn't get here because I said I'm going to go help other people.
Mhm.
Always been a person that did like to help people, but it was about my own journey because
Right.
my own journey is a whole other 5-hour conversation. But it started off really rough and it's taken quite a bit of time and energy, but it was about healing myself. And I would have loved to have tools like this
Right?
to be able to dip in and out of, like, as
Yeah.
as in my process and my growth. So yeah, I and if the people listening to this, maybe it's not for you, but if it's for someone, you might know somebody that that's really seems stuck or could really use this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that. And for those of you that have not heard some of Christine's harrowing stories of her younger self, um, they're pretty extraordinary and not all that different in some ways than some of our own, but they are, you know, of what you speak. And I think that's important for people to understand that you did approach this from your own desire to work with trauma for yourself. And that was huge. And it has helped you and supported you. And I understand what it feels like to find something that is so profound and so helpful that you want to share it with everyone. So well done. Well done. And also, just a quick reminder to everyone, Christine and I will be joining a number of other people in the United Kingdom for the Journey On Podcast Summit in August. We start August 1st. And so, um, you know, because I'm still working on my presentation right now. We have 18 minutes to share something. I'm pretty sure I would want you to share whatever you want to share. And I mean, you know, it's going to be very exciting. But we're also on panels and we have opportunities to speak in between our presentations. And it's going to be such an amazing, like I can feel into the event already, and the people are all very deep, powerful, and highly sensitive people. It's a highly sensitive group. I think it always is, maybe,
Mhm.
but you know, I just really felt that. And so we're headed that direction. And if anyone can come and join us, some of you already are, which is great. I'm fabulously excited to meet you in person, but even on the live stream. So there's links in different places for both Christine and I to share in the fun and the deepening and the Jupiter and Gemini energy. So,
And I just want to say that meeting you, Denise, like you are such a light, and your gifts are more than just astrology.
mhm,
It's that is just the way I see that you bring your gifts into the world through that channel. But there's so much bigger than that, and that's apparent. And I think that's why people adore you and come to you and want to hear from you, because they sense your big heart, and they sense that they're getting something that's way deeper and more wise
mm.
than even this modality that you do.
Thank you. And to those of you that took embodying the year, what am I supposed to say? I'm supposed to say, thank you, Christine. It's true.
Ah, it is true. It is
It's hard to do that though, but I did it.
true.
Ooh.
You did it.
But thank you. And it is true. Our modalities that we choose to bring into the world are the beginning of a journey.
Mhm.
And, you know, we love to give people the option to have that first initial meeting and move forward or not. But it's an empowerment, like you said, it's about empowerment. That is the essence. And I love that.
And we don't live in groups that have elders and you know,
Yeah.
leaders and wisdom. We actually we have to seek them out.
We have to seek them out. And that is true. That is something I really am finding about it's 11:11. It's about the groups that do gather for these summits. We end up in a community where there is all of this wisdom that can be shared together. And I feel like it's such an honor to get to be on the stage because we get to be catalysts for everyone else to feel empowered to share their wisdom. So, and I know you know that intimately because that was your first talk. So.
Yeah, I got tapped in. Okay.
All right, we should end for today at 11:11. It's super magical. Thank you, Christine, for being our guest today, and thank you for sharing some really powerful experiences and some information and also ways to work with you. So thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, we're going to say goodbye now. Mwah, mwah, mwah. See you
Mwah.
all soon.
Thank you.